Okay, yeah, of course we cannot exhaust the issues about the alliances and which is a better one, and whether it is advisable to have a major alliance, define a major alliance, or just a balancing policy. My position is very clear. Let's ally with China. But in your case, a balanced foreign relations with the two, I will define my perspective. And this requires a background of these two nations, historically and presently. In my column, I said we have been under the shadow of U.S. presence, which has led us into 11 wars. From the Phil-American War, because they snatched away the freedom and sovereignty that the Filipinos gained, where in the Phil-Am War, 600,000 to 1 million, various historians have various figures, were killed by the Americans. But we were dragged into the Korean War, Vietnam War, wars that never served our interests at all because of the alliances with this Western power, until the Iraq War. So, what benefits us? Financially and economically, the West imposes IMF, World Bank conditionalities for loans and so on. While here on the other side, an alliance with China would offer new loans without such conditionalities, onerous conditionalities at better rates, and you have so many possibilities with the BRICS Bank, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, New Development Bank, the $40 billion New Silk Road Fund, and so on. So that is my proposition. Cambodia, being a clear ally, established ally of China, got 700 million every year, more or less, to aid its debt, in retiring its debt. Africa, where many countries are relating with China, has gotten $12 billion US, while Africa is getting American troops and French troops and in Mali and so on. There is a fundamental difference in the character of the US and the Western powers and China. So I use that as a basis for a prescription for a foreign alliance. On your end, Dr. Tolentino.
We've been allies of the U.S. since, excuse me.
The turn of the last century.
Right, right. Also think about South Korea. Think about, what else?
Japan, of course.
Japan, even Singapore, right? Other Southeast Asian countries. However, we also cannot deny that China, lumalaki ang China.
Yes.
And compared to the U.S., we're much closer to China than U.S. is to us. So, in terms of balance of interest, the question is, bakit kahit na South Korea or even Singapore, these other countries, they do define themselves as an ally of the U.S., why do they have good relations with China as well?
That's right.
So this is, I think, something that we can also think about in order to achieve better our own national interest.
Even Vietnam, in our discussions there, the Chinese would say, we have this dispute with Vietnam, but they have not filed a case in the ITLOS, International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea.
Right.
And they're still talking.
Right, exactly. So that's how I see it.
Now, related to this issue is an email sent to me by, and I think I CC'd everybody in the group, of Lucio Pitlong, one of the members of the team that visited, asking, how do we now balance or gain a equal footing with the Chinese giant in our talks and negotiations and so on? I don't know if you got my emails, but my view was, from the very beginning, Deng Xiaoping's offer of joint development and setting aside the dispute, which most territorial disputes are never resolved, was an offer on equal footing. Because bilateral talks is you and me, we talk. No third party. Isn't that equal footing? So I said, maybe it is our inferiority complex, having to, seeing every large country as a bully, because of our experience with the U.S. And obviously, nobody can deny we have been bullied from the time of the arrival of Admiral Dewey down to the unfair parity rights, basis agreement, and so on. No? And now the EDCA. So I was going to ask your reaction, Justin, to my point, no, that by the record that we see of China, it has not been a bully. And maybe we are imagining shadows of a bully because we are so used to be living under the shadow of the United States of America. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. I think the Philippines has been used to being a colony for so long. It has been through a lot. So any large country approaching it could be seen as a threat, or when in fact we've had a long history with China, and there are a lot of opportunities. And as in our last meeting with the International Department, they also talked about establishing relations with ASEAN. And I think we should look at it in the perspective of the Philippines being as part of ASEAN. And China is already extending its hand to ASEAN.
So in fact, in ASEAN, in the last ASEAN, in the ASEAN conference in Cambodia, I think it was a year ago, the Philippines was isolated, demanding that ASEAN make a declaration which nobody supported. And of course, this is not completely reported. Do you recall that? Do you have any reaction to that? Or you prefer not to comment on it?
No, probably no comment on
Okay, anyway, we have many future sessions to discuss these things. So, but maybe I'll ask you to react also to what I said, that from all indications, this was also, I think, echoed again by one of the columnists, maybe I'll remember a little later on, but which I wrote in my column, that from all sources, we are told that China is going to, willing to go 50-50 at least, and some say 60-40 in our favor in this mutual development and mutual exploitation of the shared areas.
Right, the exploration.
Yeah, you have any reaction to that?
Well, China has always, how to say, always emphasized whenever, dealing bilateral relationship. And I think it is possible to engage with China in a sense that as long as we go beyond the current dispute, because there will always be conflict. There's no question, right? But the more important part is how you manage and how you manage the conflict, how going beyond the conflict. I think that's what's most important in this issue. And if we move beyond that issue, I think it's possible that we can achieve some kind of more mutual cooperation between the two.
Okay, let's look at some of the scenes that we have from our visit. So I'll just ask Rachel to roll the pictures and some of the video clips, and we will comment as we go along. So Rachel, before we end our first and second half, review natin yung mga nangyari. Ilang mga nangyari doon sa ating bisita sa China.
Parks. And on our left-hand hand, there are parts of the well-known machinery products. Because of the height limitation, we set a full
sunny. And ang fantastic doon, may water fountains, at napakalinis, pwede kang mumupo sa sahig at mag-picnic doon, di ba? Ito naman yung scene sa China Radio International. At ang nagsasalita ng pangalan ito, si Ramon ito, di ba? Remember? Yung dalawang Pilipinong nagtatrabaho doon, sa China Radio International. And we were there watching their presentations. Si Michelle and si Ramon ata, yung dalawang Pilipino doon. And of course, yung Chinese radio manager, si Jade. Jade. So, ito yung sabi kong bulag. Naalala mo? Ito? Hindi naman siya tinataboy ng pulis. So,
dito yung sa Changsha.
Changsha din ata, oo. Ito naman doon sa model community ng Communist Party. Yung apple tree na yon, yung nung sa tabi na apple, yun yung wishes ng mga may problema, may
right, si Alex.
Ito naman ang bahay nung descendant ng one of the sultans of Sulu na naiwan sa Changsha. Yung isa tumuli sa Shandong, namatay sa Shandong. That afternoon, bumisita tayo, gusto kong kausapin, wala siya doon. But I took this scene, and yung isang kasama na, this is the monument of the young Mao Zedong. Napaka-massive na monumento po. Ito, tayo. Pero wala ka dyan sa picture na yan. Saan ka gumala, Elaine?
Wala ba ako dyan?
Wala ka dyan.
Wala ako dyan.
So, yan ang delegation po natin. And the next one, Rachel, ano pang meron tayo dyan? Wala na ba? Ayun. Baka inaayos pa yung ibang mga video. So, we're nearing the end of our discussion, 2-3 minutes. More impressions from both of you. Justin, then I'll go to Elaine.
I think there's a lot of opportunity in terms of education. We can learn a lot from each other.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. Where do we go from here? I think we could explore more opportunities with the embassy, for example.
Meron bang Chinese language program sa AIM?
We don't, pero meron kaming ambassadors forum where we invite embassies of different countries, and we're planning to invite Chinese ambassador.
Okay.
Next
But
soon, so.
maybe it would be good to have a Chinese language, because ang daming negosyo sa China, Of course, it's not easy. As Elaine, despite 6 years, kailangan mag-check pa doon sa dictionary, But I think it's very, it's a very good sign of goodwill with the Chinese when you can speak a little. So, Elaine, ikaw naman sa Lasal, what do you think?
Well, the whole trip itself is for me it was another eye opener.
Despite 6 years already
6 years, and like what I said last time, I mean, 6 years in China, I thought I knew a lot, but taking that trip, I realized the more you know, the more you don't know.
But also the difference between this trip is that this was an invitation of IDCPC,
Right,
the International Department of the Communist Party of China. And they opened the doors, and you entered the doors to their halls and chambers and discussed with them.
Exactly, which is very interesting because you don't get that opportunity so often.
And we do not see the stern, soldiers and warriors of the Long March.
No.
We see young, upcoming bureaucrats, very charming, very competent, very good English.
Very intelligent.
Very intelligent.
Right.
So, anyway, next week I hope to have some of our other delegate members, maybe si Ian Macabenta, who was busy with his writing this week. Si Noel Valdez got sick, and so on and so forth. And we'll be having a get-together next weekend, so we'll exchange more information. Final words to our audience. What do you recommend with EDCA and so on? Any thoughts?
I think we should just be open to opportunities. I mean, there's a lot of things to learn, and we shouldn't just focus on one thing. If we're open, then I think a lot of things
Elaine?
will come.
I think there's a pretty good potential room for cooperation.
Okay. So, short and sweet. Maraming salamat. And as everybody says, we have a lot to learn, and as I propose, let's open our minds to new directions in this case. Maraming salamat, and we'll have Bono Adasa on our third portion on the PICOS machine, the Smartmatic chaos. Okay, let's take this break. Okay.